This video feature, brought to you by Concrobium Mold Solutions, eliminates and prevents mold, bleach-free and guaranteed. This video tip is all about an easy way to repair a worn wood floor. You can see the worn area, and this is the partially repaired area, all done without major sanding. Originally, this floor was treated to a urethane finish on top of a dark stain. And it's looked good for many years, but there are now areas of wear. That light pine underneath is showing through, and it looks pretty ratty. You can see the same thing here. To begin with, what you want to start with is some sanding. Some very light sanding by hand with the grain. I like to use 180 or maybe 120 grit sandpaper in the direction of the grain in order to remove loose bits of finish and to clean up any areas of bare wood that show through and remove the dirt. That's the first step, and it's just done by hand. Doesn't take very long. The next is staining. The stain can be applied directly on top of the worn areas to change their color back to something closer to what it originally was. That's the first step, is reestablishing the color. Here's a closer view of this application of that stain. This is the worn area here. This area used to be white and worn looking, but it's picking up stain, and it's looking pretty good. It's all going to look that way very soon as the stain is absorbed. You'll want to match the color, of course, to what you've got, or choose a color that's slightly darker. When you're applying the stain, do it pretty vigorously. I like to use circular motions to drive that stain down into any worn areas so that it's all one color. And then finish up by wiping off any excess in the direction of the grain. It's important to work with the grain when you're wiping up that excess stain. I like to use the Polyshades product here. It's a stain and sealer. It's a urethane type sealer, all in one. It's not necessary that you use this, but I just find that it works really well. Happens to match the color of the floor that I was working with in this case. It's also fairly heavy-bodied and thick, which means that it does a good job. It soaks in well and covers those worn areas. Now, this is what you're going to end up with after you've dealt with those light areas. The light areas now become dark, and so do the joints between boards. The dents are also made dark. What it really does is it changes the bad and ratty look of the light-colored distress into something that looks good and antique and kind of rustic in a way. The difference is really remarkable when you see it in real life. Now, this surface hasn't been coated, so you're still seeing some scratch marks here. But 2 or 3 coats of urethane on top of the restained surface really makes it look quite good and quite attractive, with no major sanding and disruption and a whole lot less hassle than a regular conventional refinishing operation.